Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Ball Knower Podcast Team Preview Series. I'm your host, as always, David Miller, joined today by my guy Dom down at the bottom, djaxsports, and of course the man, the myth, the legend, FivePointsVids. First of all, guys, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Yeah, it's kind of a lazy day. I worked out a little bit, but didn't get to hit any baseballs or anything. So it's a pretty relaxing day for me.
Yeah, I don't know where y'all live. I'll go ahead.
I was going to say, it was a relaxing day, and now you get to talk about the Giants. How great is that?
Yeah, it was hot too, so really couldn't do much outside. That's why I didn't have time to practice. So yeah, I just hit the gym and did my thing, but it's all good.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't know where y'all live, but it was 96 here where I'm at.
Yeah, it's tough. It was definitely hot today. But I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right in here. I think the best place to start is to kind of talk about the turnover within the front office and the coaching staff. Obviously, you fire the GM, you fire the coach, you bring in Brian Daboll, you bring in Joe Schoen, who I would say Daboll is probably one of the best hires of the offseason for any team, arguably one of the best hires over the past couple of years, head coach-wise. And Joe Schoen was a guy that really, really impressed me when I was looking for GMs for my Chicago Bears. So my first question, I guess, is how did you guys feel about the hirings? Did you have any issues with either of them? Were there any candidates you thought maybe they should have looked at that they didn't, or, anything of that nature?
I can go first on this one. I don't think we could have got two better guys, honestly. But it's New York. So you could have the greatest resume, and if you don't put up or shut up, then go ahead and pack your stuff up. But I like Shine. He's been brought in to fix this mess. The good thing about both these hires is neither of them are named Dave Gettleman or Joe Judge, and that to me was a major upgrade. Upgrade.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think the only other guy that I was looking at I would rather have other than Daboll was Flores. But y'all know what happens with that, so we can move on from that. Schoen was definitely a good pickup. And this is the first time I'm going into a new regime that I'm excited about the team. With going back with McAdoo or Shermer, Joe Judge, I was never really excited about those guys. But Daboll and the people he brought in with Kafka, with Wink Martindale, I think that's going to be a good regime.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of the coordinator hires as well. I know Wink Martindale people were kind of iffy on since Baltimore fired him last year, but they were just kind of antsy to get in that kid from Michigan. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they just loved him. They wanted to get him in the building as quick as possible. And I think Wink Martindale, especially with the front four you guys have built, which we can talk about in a minute, is going to be fantastic for this team. And then bringing in Mike Kafka to work with Brian Daboll, two very, very talented offensive minds. Daniel Jones isn't somebody I'm super confident in, but these are the two best offensive minds he's worked with. So maybe they can get something out of him that, these other coaches haven't. So I guess that's probably the next best place to go is talk about Daniel Jones. Obviously, it hasn't been too positive with him yet, but with Daboll coming in and everything he did with Josh Allen, there's potentially some optimism. So how do you guys feel about that whole situation?
Yeah, I think with this is obviously they didn't pick up the option on Daniel Jones for good reason, because it's literally a put up or shut up year. So best case scenario, they win 8-9 games or something where he's serviceable. They can get him for cheap, right? They don't have to pay Kyler Murray money for Daniel Jones, and then he just starts balling out on the second contract. That's the best case scenario. Worst case, I mean, it's really not a bad thing. Okay, say they only win 4 or 5 games, then you cut bait with Daniel Jones. You'll have a top 5 draft pick, and you'll get somebody decent. I don't know if the quarterback class is really all that great in college right now, but really the Giants aren't really in a bad spot right now, because the fan base kind of knows that we're gonna either suck or we're gonna be surprised. There's no real expectation right now.
Right.
Yeah, I've never been the biggest Daniel Jones fan, like ever. I think he's already done. I don't think there's a point of him giving him another opportunity. I wouldn't be mad if halfway through the season he starts doing bad. You're throwing Tyrod Taylor just for a different look. I just don't see a way or a world even where he becomes even like an above average starter. And in this league, I don't know. In this league, you need a top 10 quarterback. He's not going to do that. He hasn't progressed since his rookie year.
Yeah, but if you look at film, generally he makes the right decision. I mean, he can throw the deep ball. He can throw the right ball. He can escape with his legs. His real problem is like he has no idea when pressure is coming. Like no clue. Like it's annoying because he'll see a wide receiver like running a complex route and he's going to try to throw him open. But he's obviously open because he's in one-on-one coverage and they are sending a blitzer. Like, come on, dude. Like, he doesn't have – that's where you're hoping that Dable can be like, dude, stop. Simplify the game for him. I know it's his fourth coordinator or whatever, or already third head coach, I would think. Yeah. And so it's going to be rough. Best case scenario is they are somehow over 500 or even make the playoffs. And again, you don't really have to overpay. If Daniel Jones gets us to the playoffs, like you don't have to give him a lot of money. So it's just he's happy to have a second contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think definitely with Daniel Jones, he doesn't really read the defense when he's at the line of scrimmage. I remember people were raving about the Washington game last year. I went back, I looked at the film. He made like two super high level throws. One was to Slayton on the left side of the field.
That he dropped.
That was, yeah. And the other one was a touchdown. I think also to Slayton.
But
besides that, like he has above average to average arm strength. He is super mobile. But he just, like you said, he doesn't read the field well. He doesn't read defenses well. What happened from his rookie year on? His rookie year, he was super aggressive, but he fumbled the ball a lot. He threw a lot of interceptions. And then like Shermer, or I forget who was the coach his second year. Whoever it was, really, it was I'm sorry, the Cowboys' old head coach. Garrett really made him be super non-aggressive, super passive, and he had like 12 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and it's like you need a happy medium, and it seems like he can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys absolutely hit the nail on the head with Jones. He has some of the athletic traits, and I think that's kind of why people are looking at this like, well, you know, Dable did his thing with Josh Allen. Maybe he can fix Daniel Jones. But the fact that Daniel Jones has no idea what's going on in the pocket 90% of the time is just not passable. You just can't have an NFL quarterback that doesn't know what he's doing when pressure comes. As soon as you fold, you just can't do it. You can't deal with it. And like you said, he has issues processing the field. He has issues reading the defense at times. He's just rough all around. And I do think Dable is the best scenario for him. It was the best pairing you could have gotten for him. But, I mean, it is what it is with Daniel Jones at this point. Kind of like 5 Point said, you're either getting to the playoffs and you extend him for cheap, or you got a top 5 pick and you're looking at what are the kids' names? CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, whoever. So it's kind of
but Young doesn't excite me. Like Young is he's just Alabama's quarterback. Like he doesn't have a big arm. He doesn't have a big frame. Like he doesn't look like a pro, like a insert and be a number 1 quarterback. But then again, like Kyler Murray, like I wasn't excited about him. He goes 1-1 and he just got the bag. So I don't know. It's like when I'd rather let the talent evaluators or someone like Dable see a quarterback. But like you said, if Dable could pick anyone that's a project, I think Daniel Jones would be the guy. He's got a lot of – think about Josh Allen when he came in the league. What were the knocks on him? Can't win the big game, made bad decisions in under pressure. Like, it's different. Don't get me wrong. His field presence was better, and his arm is way stronger than Daniel Jones. But I think Dable can at least smooth out a lot of Daniel Jones's roughness. which is simplify the game and have him get rid of the ball before he really has to make a decision. And hopefully we get some production out of him. And if that system works, we stick with it.
Yeah. And the good thing is, too, with Brian Dable, he's an extremely malleable play caller. So if he finds things that Daniel Jones works with, he's going to stick to him. It's not like he's going to try to force him into anything or try to force him into his offense. If he finds stuff that works for Daniel Jones, that's going to be the offense. That's what they're going to use. And that's going to pay big dividends. I think, kind of like Dom said, the fact that he's had 3, 4, 5 coordinators, whatever it's been, it's really important now that he's got a guy in Dable who can call plays right away and will stick as long as Daniel Jones is there. It's going to help his development a good bit. But, there is the concern if it's too late or whatever. So Daniel Jones is kind of a wild card this year. I think watching him is going to be very interesting to see what's going on with him. But I do think the Giants this offseason and kind of the previous off seasons as well, building up to this year, have done a fantastic job of surrounding him with talent. Like, they have a very solid receiver corps with Galladay and Tony, Shepard, Slayton, and then they just added Wan'Dale Robinson. And then you've got the backfield with Saquon, who is a question mark in itself. And then the offensive tackles on this team are going to be fantastic. Andrew Thomas already looks like a fringe top 10 guy, and Evan Neal was probably the best overall prospect in this past draft. So I guess we can talk about that next. That's kind of my next question. How do you guys feel about the weapons and the protection that he has around him? Do you think it's good enough for him to take that step if he can put it together, or do you still think he needs a little bit more?
I think we're a quarterback.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we're kind of a quarterback-ish away, definitely offensively. At this point, I think we have 3 good offensive line, 3 average or above average offensive linemen, if we're counting Evan Neal, who I think is going to be really good. Him, Andrew Thomas, and Gostkowski, who we got from the Colts. And all you really need is 3 above average offensive linemen, and then you can scheme around the other 2. We do have really good weapons. And Tony, Galladay. Once you saw Galladay with a good quarterback at Stafford, he did really well. Hopefully Saquon can stay healthy. That's a really good offense if you have a quarterback that's competent and is able to run that offense well. So whether it's Daniel Jones or whether it's someone else, I actually really like Bryce Young. But Bryce Young or whoever else in the future, I think that would be in a good spot.
Yeah, Galladay, for the money that they signed him for, has to produce. Like, it's not even a question about it. Shepard needs to stay healthy, but guys don't suddenly just get healthy in at age 29. Like, he's gonna break down. Like, he's gonna miss games. Slayton needs to catch the ball. Slayton always gets open, but he's got a little handsy problem. Tony's got to show up for sure. And then, the secret weapon, Wan'Dale Robinson, I wonder, just sort of perplexing pick, but I guess they're already out on Shepard. So Evan Neal was the steal of the draft. For him to fall down at 5 or 7, well, I forget which one it was. It was
7, yeah.
Yeah, 7. Yeah. To get him at 7 is great. You got Thomas, who, really came in on his own last year. It kind of sucks that Nick Gates is probably his career is over when you spend all that when you develop a guy that was getting good and then he breaks his leg in 8 places. Like, it's pretty sad, but I think they'll be fine on the left side of the line. It's the right side that really concerns me, but fortunately that's Daniel Jones. It's not his blind side where he sees a little bit better over there. So if he has a little bit longer on the left, it's definitely has to go up. How far up from how bad we were last year is a question, but I don't see them losing more games than last year with just adding Thibodeau and Neal. 2 guys are much better for this team.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think the biggest thing overall with these weapons is just going to be their health. Like, Kenny Galladay's had issues, Shepard's had issues, Saquon obviously has his issues. If they can't stay healthy, it's a completely different story, which is unfortunately I don't want to say likely outcome, but a very plausible outcome. But I do like Tony and Robinson specifically. I think Tony can do a little bit of everything for you. Obviously, he's got his weird off-the-field stuff going on where he wants to be a rapper and God knows what else. And then he was throwing hands in the Cowboys game for absolutely no reason, the game where he almost had 200 yards and absolutely tore up that defense. But when you get the ball in his hands, I mean, he's one of a kind. He's incredible. And Dable is really a guy that could figure out how you want to use him and how you can use him to be his best self. I know kind of every shifty receiver gets the Debo Samuel hype now, but like Tony is someone I could legitimately see taking carries in the backfield and doing just about everything for this offense.
Yeah,
and then
you saw what Dable did with Stefan Diggs. You can definitely do that with Tony if Galladay is healthy, you know, so that they can distract the defense enough to get Tony some looks. That's another thing. It's like, Galladay, we paid you to be a number one. You got to act like a number one, and that's called being out there. Like they're really outside of Galladay. Like, I mean, Shepard's not a number one. Slayton's not a number one. Like, if he's not there, like everything shifts down and it doesn't work. Like Galladay has to be out there.
Yeah, Galladay, he's weird, man. I don't even know what to think about him at this point with his injury concerns, and he hasn't looked that great when he's actually been on the field. He had like 500 yards last year with no touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's just rough. He was struggling to get open. He wasn't catching any 50-50 balls or anything like that. Like, he's a solid possession guy, but I don't know how confident I am in him being like a long-term number, or I guess not long-term at this point because he's up there in age, but being that number one guy for the Giants. And that's probably my biggest concern with this receiver core as a whole, other than their health, is the fact that I don't think they have a true alpha. I don't think they have a guy that's really going to take the defense off or put the defense on their toes and distract, kind of like you were saying, to get guys like Tony touches. But Wan'Dale Robinson, obviously, I agree 100% that he was a bit of a confusing pick. I understand why, kind of. Like, he's kind of like that Isaiah McKenzie type player that Dable's really going to be able to use to do a little bit of everything. But taking him in the second round is just it makes no sense.
Yeah, it was perplexing when you think there was other needs, you know, like there was some good offensive linemen out available, and they still wanted Wan'Dale Robinson. But you know, they already won the first round, so they were just like, oh, this is an embarrassment of riches, you know. But maybe that's something. Maybe they have a 2-year plan for this team. You don't know, you know, what. You're not in these rooms and you don't know what they've discussed with Mara, and they're just like, hey, dude, we're going to lose next year. Don't worry about it. Like, I mean, Dable could have already made up his mind on Jones and been like, yeah, this guy's trash. True. We have no idea. Like, you have no idea. You'll see. I think you'll find out early, first 4 games, what this team's about. And if they don't go 2-2, or if they just, 1-3, it's like, all right, you'll know, and it's going to be a long year of not enjoying Sundays.
Yeah.
I was definitely also confused at first with the Wan'Dale Robinson pick. I liked him coming out of Kentucky, but then the Giants and Dable said they had an exact plan for him, so I'm going to trust that because he is definitely a guy that, like, you need an exact plan for him, or else he's just not going to succeed in the NFL. But back to Galladay, I just want to say that I don't think he fits super well with Daniel Jones and how he throws the ball versus like he fit really well with Stafford, because Stafford's this big arm guy who can throw it up and put it exactly where Galladay can go up and get the ball, and like that's not really what Daniel Jones' style is. But I think receiving core overall is will be all right. Wan'Dale Robinson will probably play that slot role and replace Sterling Shepard after they restructured his deal this year. I think he's done after this year. Who knows?
Yeah.
Slayton. So. Yeah.
Slayton might not pick up Slayton. Slayton, though, has been productive. So, like, it's just like, but he's not going to be like a number one. No. Yeah. Might just have to go out and draft a number one receiver, you know. Maybe Tony becomes like a Tyreek Hill type, or a Stefan Diggs. You don't have to be big to be a number one. Like,
true.
Diggs is not a big guy. Tyreek Hill is not a big guy. You just have to get freaking open. Like, do that. That's your job.
Yeah, he was definitely doing that when he was healthy last year. So
yeah,
I have faith in him for sure. I think he'd be an X.
Yeah, like I said, if Tony can just kind of get it figured out off the field, I think he can be a superstar. Dude's incredible. And again, working with Dable is the best possible scenario for him. Like, there's a lot of guys here that just blend so well with Dable. But moving on from the receivers, unless there were any guys we kind of looked over, I know I kind of skipped over the depth. You got guys like Colin Johnson, who's like,
Six,
classic
guy.
big body type of guy.
He was getting more targets than Kenny Galladay last year. I remember that. I was so upset. I'm like, why are we paying this dude $17 million to get less targets than Colin Johnson?
I mean, Colin Johnson, he's not terrible as like a fourth, fifth guy. I don't hate it. But getting more targets than Galladay, that is pretty concerning.
Yeah.
But moving on from the receivers, we need to talk about this tight end room because it's abysmal. It's so bad. You're looking at, who even is it? It's Ricky Seals-Jones, Jordan Akins as your top two. That's a rough duo.
Yeah, we got the guy from San Diego State.
I like Bellinger. Yeah, I like Bellinger
right now.
Yeah. Bellinger's a guy that needs a little bit of work. I see the vision with him. I understand kind of the hype around him, but he needs work. He definitely needs work. So he's not somebody I think is going to get a ton of snaps this year. So like I said, you're looking at Seals-Jones and Akins, who, unless you guys want to convince me otherwise, I think are pretty bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing with any good offense at least has a good blocking tight end. And you look at the elite offenses, they have good two-way tight ends. And there hasn't been a good tight end in New York since Kevin Boss, or what's his name? Shockey before that.
Shockey,
it's been bad since the Super Bowl winning team. I think it was Boss was the tight end there. Like, we haven't had a good tight end. They had, what's his name, Brett Myers. They had, Rudolph or whatever last year. He's freaking trash. Like, they just haven't had good tight ends, and you need a good big body tight end if you want to win games in the NFL. It's pretty obvious, because when you need that clutch first down or touchdown, you're looking for that tight end,
Yeah.
And it's just sad that it hasn't been good at that position for a long time.
Yeah. And especially when you have a young developing quarterback, a tight end is a young quarterback's best friend, 100% all the way.
Yeah.
And like I said, these two guys, they're athletic, but they're undersized. They can't run block. They're not physical. They're not going to go up and moss somebody. You're just kind of hoping they're getting open in space and can hold on to the ball. Like, it's just not a very promising duo. Like I said, I like Bellinger. I think he's going to be good long-term, but you got to wait a year or two for him to even pan out. So it's going to be rough at tight end.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I think we're playing a lot of 4 receiver sets next year. Just look at the personnel.
Yeah, and we're not at a point where, say, you have like a late first round pick and you can take a stud tight end as the last piece, or you can sign a like free agent. Like, there wasn't many great tight end free agent. Like, tight end's a position that you kind of just have to draft. It's really it's hard to find someone that's just available, like a mercenary that's available, that's just going to give you good tight end, because most teams hold on to their good tight ends. So it's just tough that it's rough right there. That could be just a sort of alarming. Well, I guess it's up to Dable to build an offense that doesn't rely on that, or at least just has someone, the tight end, to stay in and block, or they play an extra lineman in when they see that situation. But anytime in the NFL, if you're giving away what you're going to do, like, the defenses figure it out pretty quick. It's like, we see him out there. We know what we're going to do. We are going to drop back into coverage.
Yeah.
So
I will say there's one player that maybe is not necessarily on Giants fans' radar just because of the position he plays that I think can add a little bit of something to that run blocking ability of that tight end room, and that's your rookie fullback, Jeremiah Hall. I'm a big fullback guy.
Fullback.
Listen, I am a deep believer in the fullback position. And Jeremiah Hall, he's really more of an H-back than a fullback. He played that bit of a hybrid role in college. I can't remember what school he went to. But he's a versatile, athletic dude, and he's tough. He's always looking for contact. He's just a little bit undersized, but he kind of uses that to his advantage with leverage. And he's a super smart guy. So I think he can definitely, if they're willing to give him snaps, which we saw last year with Richie Gilliam in Buffalo, that Dable's willing to use fullbacks, maybe he's somebody that can help out a good bit. But it just kind of depends if he even makes the team, because we're looking at a
Yeah.
fullback here. So
he went to Oklahoma, so I don't think they drafted him to not use him, right? Like, I think he can definitely take a roster spot from one of those crappy tight ends, or one of the many wide receivers that we have. Like, that's a good sign that they're gonna run the rock and they're gonna pass it, or they're gonna dump it off to Saquon and just be like, hey, get us 6-7 yards. And it's up to Dable to teach Saquon to be okay with just gaining 6-7 yards. But that left side again, if they can get a good point of attack, like, think about it. If Thomas, Neal, and then Jeremiah Hall are taking out 3 defenders, like, Saquon's gonna get yards. Okay. And that's going to make life a lot easier for Daniel Jones when he can work off of play action, because then you don't have to read shit when the defense fights. Like, you're rolling out, your guy's open. Like, it's not a question of I have to wait in the pocket. I've already booted out. Like, I'm out of the pocket. So that's going to help Daniel Jones to have a good running game. And you saw it work for Eli Manning when they had Bradshaw and they had Brandon Jacobs. Play action with Manning was money every time, because the defense had to respect the run game. So that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Speaking of the run game, Saquon Barkley is probably going to be one of the biggest question marks for this team. Obviously, we're hoping he can stay healthy. Are you guys confident in that at all, or do you think Saquon's just kind of a what if at this point?
He better stay healthy. Who's his backup?
Matt Breida.
We lost
Matt Breida. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah, he better stay healthy.
Yeah.
We'll see. Honestly, I was kind of hoping that we somehow, like, the Bills traded for him, just to see him in a good situation, because I know right now the Giants just aren't the best situation for him.
Right.
And then when playoffs time comes, I have a team to root for. But I mean, will he stay healthy? I think there were a couple freak injuries, especially last year. The guy rolled over on his ankle.
Yeah.
But I mean, he also didn't look great last year, especially was that the opener against the Steelers. He averaged
when he was
0.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, he made it through the year being pretty much healthy, but like, he just wasn't productive, and the explosiveness, like, again, like, you don't just get older and then get more explosive. Like, that it doesn't work that way. I just think, he's at the end of his deal. He looks great. He's in great shape. He's taking it seriously. I think he's auditioning for all the other teams in the league. I just really don't care. It's going to take like an 1,800-yard season to get to him on a second contract. And it's a big no-no to ever sign a running back to a second contract. I don't care how productive he is. Like, look at Carolina. Like, oh, it's a no-brainer to sign CMC. Well, he started missing games,
right,
in his contract, and it just will never make sense to sign a running back to a second deal.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate to see what happened with Saquon. I mean, that poor guy had all the potential in the world, generational talent. And then the Giants made the mistake of taking him second overall. He was running behind a terrible offensive line with poor quarterback play. They were relying too hard on him, and just all fell apart on him. And now, I mean, for lack of better words, he probably is one of the biggest what-ifs of the past decade or so, because I don't think he's going to be able to get back to playing at an elite level, even if he is able to stay on the field. Kind of like 5 Points said, we saw him last year playing healthy, and he was not himself whatsoever. So,
those home runs are like gone. Like, that was his thing. Like, it was smart to draft him, honestly, at 2 overall, because he masked how bad those offensive lines were, because he could just bounce outside and take it to the house for 60, 70 yards. But now he can't do that, especially last year with the offense that Garrett ran before he got fired. Like, he just he was just like, all right, we're going to run you between the tackles, which in retrospect is really smart, because like, you don't want Barkley to try to do something dumb. Like, clearly in the times in the past when he's tried to bounce outside, that's where he got injured. Like, he kind of has to stay between the tackles. And now, like I said, if they can open up bigger holes, it's fine. If he's getting 10, 12, 15-yard chunks, and then maybe he gets into the secondary, he can do stuff. But I think you got to temper your expectations with Saquon, because no one's going to be shocked if after the third game he has a bruised thigh or something and can't go.
Right.
Like, no one's going to be surprised by that.
Yeah, and I mean, if he goes down, it's Matt Breida, like I said, is your backup. Then you're looking at Gary Brightwell and Antonio Williams. So that entire idea of setting up play action for Daniel Jones, if Saquon goes out, pretty much out the window. Like obviously you can still run play action, but it's going to be a lot harder to sell it when Gary Brightwell's the running back you're trying to run with in the backfield.
Yeah. Yeah. And we saw it last year. I think who took a lot of snaps? Who was
Devontae Booker?
Yeah. And he's gone. So like, it's just, I don't know. We haven't had good running backs in a long time. We haven't had good anything. You see all these damn Madden ratings coming out, and not a single Giant is in even the top 10 in any category. Like, and that's, you can tell that teams that don't have guys, like, I don't use Madden as a barometer, but if you don't have any guys in the top 10 from a numerical standpoint, like, you just don't have a good football team. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I know the pain. I'm a Bears fan, and the only guy we had even sniffing the top 10s was Roquan Smith. And Roquan Smith is someone who might not even play football this year, considering some off-the-field issues that have kind of been swept under the rug, but I'm still keeping my eye on because you hate to see it. So, obviously, you don't want to base your opinions off Madden. You don't want to base your beliefs off Madden, but it does suck when you're loading up the game and you're like, well, this team has no abilities. It has nobody over like an 82 overall. And it is somewhat telling of what you're kind of dealing with, unfortunately. So I definitely get that.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
Definitely looking at Madden and be like, oh, I want to play with the Giants, and they're 74 overall. And you're like,
yeah. And it's like, you can't even scheme your way to a win online. Like, remember back in like Madden 13, like you could just run a better game plan and you could win with any team, but nah, man, like you can't win with the Giants online unless you go with some fucking dumbass Jets fan and you're like, all right, I can maybe beat the Jets with these Giants.
Right.
It sucks that like you're a fan of the team that like people will use in Madden to play someone that they know they're better than.
Right. Let me see if I can win with the Giants. Like, let me just see if I can do this.
Or the team that the YouTubers picked to rebuild for their series because they know they can replace the entire team with generated players.
Yeah. Because that's the only way to win with this stupid team is futures.
Right.
Yeah,
it's definitely unfortunate. So we've kind of touched on a couple of the draft picks here. I think the best place to go from here is just to overview the draft as a whole. Obviously, as 5 Points said very early on, you won the first round. You got arguably the two best players in the first round, period. I would say Evan Neal was probably one of, if not the best singular prospect. And Thibodeau was in that same conversation, definitely has the highest ceiling out of any of the edge rushers from this class. And then we've touched on Wan'Dale Robinson, obviously. So some of these guys, rounds 3 through 6, we've also touched on Bellinger. So is there anyone here that stands out to you, anyone you're looking at that you're excited about, think can make a big impact this year or, within the next couple of years? Or is it just kind of a bunch of, we'll see it when we see it type of guys?
I think they more fill out depth, at least for this year, just because we've lost so much in our depth this past offseason. Just getting rid of a bunch of crap that Goodwin put on our team. So like people like Flott will come in. I think from LSU, Flott come in, kind of play a slot type role. Isn't the best. It wasn't the best corner on his team ever. Obviously, you have Stingley on that team. But people like him will come in, play some like somewhat meaningful snaps, but like, are they going to make a big impact on our team? I don't think so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I want to see Thibodeau play. Like he was just the perfect pick for that slot, and just he's got the New York attitude. He's got the swagger. He's ready to go. Like obviously, you don't want to put too much on him, but if he can come in and make an impact like Mike Parsons did, you're just excited there. Late round picks, the other guys that they picked up, like I paid attention. I was like, oh, we finally picked I think we got an O-line deep, like way late in the draft. And then
we got two. We got third round.
Third round and then later on. Both UNC guys.
you don't even care who they are. You're just
Unfortunately.
like, okay, we got some, because sometimes the guys don't even make the team and you completely forget about them. And then other times they're, you know, late rounders, you know, bloom like on a Monty Toomer or someone like that. It's just the top end of the spectrum that we got, they've got to produce. And, you know, they're going to learn and they're going to get better for sure.
Absolutely. One guy that I'm excited to see for you guys, and granted, it's a little bit of bias because I'm a North Carolina fan. Joshua Zwedo, I believe is how you say it. I never learned how to say his name, but the 3rd round guard you guys took, I think, I'm not going to say he's a day one starter, but I think he's somebody that next year absolutely could be working his way into the starting lineup. I really liked what I saw to him when I went back and watched film on him. And then Marcus Mckeithen, who's also from UNC, I didn't like as much, but kind of like Dom said, great depth guy. Definitely somebody who I think you can rely on, at least, you know, to rotate in if somebody were to get hurt or whatever. And then I think my favorite pick you guys made, and maybe it's not because he's great, but just because it's a player I really liked, was Darion Beavers, because he's like the definition of a prototypical 1980s hard-nosed, punchy in the face type of linebacker. And I know there's not necessarily a big spot for guys like that in the NFL nowadays, but you just love to see those type of guys getting drafted. And I had a lot of fun watching his film. So worst case scenario, you might get yourself a guy who's going to be able to come in and play really dominant as a run stuffer, because he was very good at that in college. And then him and I want to say Micah McFadden as well played a lot of edge in college, so they could be guys that are rotated in off the edge, because your edge depth is kind of wishy-washy right now. Yeah. So they're definitely guys I could see making some noise. Other than that, though, I'm with Dom. It's a lot of depth. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you're a team like this, you need to get your depth guys eventually. So I didn't think it was a bad draft class by any means.
No, I don't think it was bad. I actually had to look it up because I forgot that because we had 16 million picks, it feels like. But I do like the safety out of Iowa. I feel like safeties out of Iowa.
What's going on, fellas?
How you doing?
All right, we've got a special guest about halfway through. Dom, I'll let you pick up in a second. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick? Let everybody know who just joined.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Stefan, a.k.a. SneakyGman11. What's going on? Sorry if your ears are hurting. I do apologize for that. 5-Point I see you're not entertained. Are you not entertained? No, I'm tripping.
Well, first of all, Stefan, thank you for joining us. Sorry we kind of started without you, but
my apologies. Yeah.
You're good. You're here. Right now we're talking about the draft and what you guys did during the draft. Dom, you can go ahead and pick up with what you're talking about.
No, you're good. I was just talking about Belton, safety out of Iowa. I feel like they're all kind of similar prototypes. Hard-hitting guys. I feel like he could work alongside of Julian Love and McKinney super well. So that's just a guy to look out for in the near future.
Absolutely.
Can I say something?
Go for it. I was kind of waiting on you too.
Obviously I want to talk about the first round, how the first 2 picks. I wanted Thibodeau and I wanted Neal. I'm surprised they went Thibodeau first, but apparently had they not, Carolina would have picked him up. And with Neal, just solidifies our offensive line for next year. So
absolutely,
just that alone. And I know people are really questioning about our second round pick, the wide receiver out of Kentucky. But he's going to be another Tony. I mean, another utility guy. Put him in the backfield. Put him as a slot, wide out. I'm just excited for this year as a Giants fan.
All right, fair enough. So unless there's any other of these late draft picks we were talking about, I think we can go ahead and move on to the defense. Talk about what our expectations are there, because I think it's a kind of interesting group, because this front 4, at least in terms of starters, looks to be one of the better, projects to be one of the better groups in football. I think Thibodeau and Ojulari can make up a fantastic duo, especially long-term. Ojulari was very productive last year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember his numbers off the top of my head, but he looked good. He looked very solid, very consistent. He showed some flashes, but he's definitely a guy you're comfortable with being your number 2. He needs to kind of do a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of refining, but as a whole, I think he's pretty solid. And then Thibodeau kind of touched on it with 5 points. He's just that alpha mentality, New York, big personality, exactly what you want out of that star edge rusher. I don't like doing one-on-one comparisons, but like physically, he reminds me a lot of Khalil Mack. Like it's a very similar build. And I think he has the upside and the talent to be a Khalil Mack type of edge rusher, which would be obviously huge for the Giants. You know, he's got that great first step, great length, long arms, really dominant. He's got great bend, and I think he's going to fit very well with Wink Martindale, the new defensive coordinator. We saw him last year in Baltimore have a similar type player with Odafe Oweh, who blew up. You know, he was fantastic. And I think if he can get that type of year out of Thibodeau year one, he's my favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I'm obviously very high on him. With this edge duo, how do you guys feel about it? I'm sure you're also pretty optimistic.
Again, the word excitement pops out. First off, we got to understand last year, Williams got the bag. Okay. He got paid. But he wasn't as productive as he was the year before. He had 12 sacks the year before during his contract year. And, why is that? Okay. We can argue, say that's because of his contract year, or we could say that Tomlinson was there on the other side, putting pressure on the quarterback. So I believe that Thibodeau is going to be his number two. He's going to be his, I don't want to say number two. I don't want to insult Thibodeau, but he's going to be that, I guess you could say Batman to his Robin, or his Robin to his Batman, however you want to. Of course, Tomlinson will say that's my Robin, if anything. But I think once Thibodeau understands the scheme, this new defensive scheme, that the Giants defense is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, you were also mentioning the safety that we're talking about. DJ, you were speaking straight facts. This guy that we drafted, he's a physical specimen, and he hits. And we're going to see that this year.
Yeah, I think you say there's optimism. I think the frustrating part is going to be like, can they score enough points? Because I think this might be one of those years where the defense gets off the field. They get three and outs early in the game. They might get 2 or 3 in a row, and then we go out and just not be able to move the ball or something. Just frustrating. But yeah, you always want to build with the defense first, but I just see that as next year is like it's going to be maddening again, like last year, where we just can't score points. And
I hear you, but let's look at what's different. Oh, now, granted, it's on paper. We haven't seen it. The offensive line is upgraded. I mean, we can definitely agree on that. Nate Soldiers, he's off to better pastures. Gates is going to be, hopefully he'll be back healthy. I don't even know if he's
I don't even think he's active. Like, yeah, he broke his leg in like 86 places. I don't know if he's
pretty bad.
Able to but he's on the active roster, so I mean,
yeah, but they've got Feliciano listed as the starter where I'm seeing
from Buffalo, right?
Yeah, coming over.
Yeah, that dude's a beast. So I think there's going to be some upgrades. Now, my question is, to your point, 5 point, is what kind of mental state will Saquon be? I think that's what's hampering him last year. I think if he can get past that hurdle, that mental hurdle, I think we're going to see the Saquon of old. I really do. And I can't believe I'm saying that because he's only been in the league for 5 years.
Has it really been that long already? Dear God.
Yeah, this is his 5th year option.
Yeah, he went from the number. See, the thing is, like, you go back and I think you look at that draft that Saquon came in, it really wasn't. I mean, let's see here.
It wasn't a very.
I forget. I've looked at it multiple times. It's like, okay, it wasn't like a great draft.
You have your highs and you have your lows. You have your Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen.
I think Lamar, but we weren't looking for a quarterback at that time.
Lamar wasn't. Well, we should have, but
we should have been.
That high. Josh Allen wouldn't have succeeded on the Giants.
No,
Sam Darnold and Barkley. Sam Darnold and Baker. See how they are now. Maybe Quentin Nelson is maybe the right pick.
Yeah, Quentin Nelson.
But a guard at 2 is crazy. But so is a running back.
It's crazy positional value wise, but I feel like Quentin Nelson even coming in was a guy you can overlook that for. Like, and maybe even you trade back a couple spots and get him. Like Quentin Nelson's a generational talent. You could also look at the linebackers in that draft. Like obviously it's a little bit of bias being a Bears fan, but Roquan Smith is a stud. Minka's there. I was gonna say other linebackers, but I guess Edmonds hasn't really panned out. He's kind of sucked. But I mean, there were other options there, but I don't think Saquon was the wrong pick or anything.
No. Everyone wanted him. We all wanted him. He was there. We took him, and that's what happens when you draft a running back that high. But he was sensational his first 2 years, and we basically wasted him, not giving him any help. It was just way too early to draft. He was the right pick, but at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is where Gettleman kind of shot past the moon on this one. That same draft, he tried to find some type of protection in Hernandez, although I'm a Hernandez fan in that draft. I am. Of course, that didn't pan out. And
he was good 1 year.
I'm sorry? You know what? I think his downfall was when he had COVID. After he got COVID, I think there was a small decline, but I thought he was improving myself. And with Gettleman, last year being his last year, he just sacrificed weapons for protection. That's all he did, because he had those, I hate saying lame duck signings, a free agency where they showed up and they're like, oh my God, Judge is running us too much. I quit, and I say that respectly.
I would have quit too.
But I mean, there is nothing wrong with extra. If you're gonna pay me league minimum, I'll run. Now it may take me 2 to 3 hours to do a 40, but damn it, I'm still gonna run. Okay, maybe 30 minutes.
If I'm 30 years old and I have a grown man yelling at me for running for any reason, I'm done. Nah.
Yeah, they're treating them like high schoolers.
But then why even sign for the team though? Why?
Because you didn't think you were getting treated like a high schooler when you showed up?
Yeah, most NFL teams don't run like that.
Yeah, that's not a
no Judge to do that. He's not even now.
You see
again. And I'll 5 point. I'll step back in a sec. Again, if you're in the pros, you're going to be on different teams. Different teams have different mentalities. And matter of fact, this guy knew the dude we got from the Lions. No, he's stuck with the team. I apologize. However, the people I think one from the Cowboys or whoever it was. I mean, you quit because you run, and it's only for 1 day. It's temporary. It's temporary. I'm sorry. Go ahead. 5 points. My bad.
No, it's all good. You see these Patriot assistant coaches, and they walk around and they think that they're Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick can tell someone to run because he's earned that right. He don't even need to tell people to run. He just looks at them, and they're like, "Okay, I know, right." But like Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, like all these Patriot retread coaches, thinks that they've learned from Belichick, and it's hurt them. They haven't earned anything. They haven't shown they see how Belichick operates and they think that's the way when they really should be doing it their way. And their way is usually wrong. They got a job that they shouldn't have gotten anyway. Judge should never have been hired.
You know who's been successful? That's part of the Patriot way, and that's Vrabel.
Yeah, but
that's it.
Yeah, but
he don't like Belichick anyway, I don't think. So.
Right. Did he really coach under Belichick?
No,
I don't think
he was a player. He was just a player.
Yeah, so that's even a different situation. Like, he came out from under Belichick, but he didn't learn his coaching approach to coaching from Belichick or anything like that.
Yeah, but when you're
a very different.
It's a different vibe completely.
Well, but when you're being coached by someone, you do it.
I mean, I'm sure he picked up on things from Belichick. I'm not saying he learned absolutely nothing from Belichick, but he's not like Judge or Patricia trying to be Belichick 2.0, like 5 Points said, because that's never going to work. Nobody is Bill Belichick. What he does is one of a kind. You can't mimic it. It is impossible. People are going to continue to try it, and it's never going to work because they don't have the respect that he does. There's not many coaches that can come in and just say, do your job, and everyone's going to know exactly what that means. He's the only one that can do that.
So, but let's not forget about what was the main fruit of Belichick's success. Okay, he got, the 1 star out of or the dime out of a dozen. The diamond in the rough. That's what I'm looking for. And Tom Brady, and also let's look at it this way too. yes, Belichick is a genius. Okay. Leonard Marshall said that. Lawrence Taylor have said that. Many of his, athletes that or players that he's coached have said that. Now, however, Prisha was a defensive coordinator. I don't even know what not Josh. Judge was. I think
he was like the wide receivers
Okay.
coach.
He was a
or
wide
something.
receiver,
Special teams. Okay, sorry.
and then on Wednesday he was the
Those.
water boy. Thursday, he was the landscape. Whatever. I think they gave their input, to be a part to help them win. Because I mean, those guys, they do have Super Bowl rings as well, and we, let's not forget that. Plus, Judge had BCS championships, and I'm not trying to talk him up as another coaching opportunity. I just want to respect his resume.
I'd hope not. I mean, he can't even get like a real job with the Patriots right now. He's like
an advisor or something.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, I'm sure they know football. If Bill Belichick hires you, he doesn't hire idiots.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Some guys just don't have it in them to take it upon themselves to be that guy for a team. Some guys just work better in a different role. So
yeah, some people can be really football knowledgeable, but like that's way different from being a head coach.
And then some people can be great coordinators and horrible coaches, but coordinators and vice versa.
Coaching is like the CEO. Like you're in charge of what you're practicing. You're in charge of recognizing where the deficiencies are. You rubber stamp the offense and the defense. Well, not with Belichick. Like he's just outsmarting everyone. But like the coach is like the CEO. Like he's not in the best situation. He's letting his guys do the work. Just like when Coughlin was coached. Spagnuolo dialed up the blitzes, and Kill Drive. Those 2 years. I mean, the 2011 Eli. I'm sorry, Gilbride had a good offense, man. Like it was. They were running 4 wide sets and one running back and a tight end, and it was working. And so, like, you don't to me, football is more about execution a lot of times than the actual play calling.
Right.
Like a lot of times they call the wrong freaking play and it just works, So it's just we got to have talent. You got to have guys that get it done. Yeah. And we don't have that. At least not the last 5-6 years. We haven't had a talented squad.
It's coming.
It's coming. Trust. We've got new players, and I hope they do well. I'm one of the more pessimistic Giants fans, obviously. I do this every year. I'm just like, oh, great. We're probably going to suck, but I've been right. I've been right for the last 6 years, and I'm tired of being right.
Listen, that's the best way to be with your team, though. If you're pessimistic, you're either right or you're happy. Like if you're going to be wrong about it, you're happy about it if they're good. But I'm the same way with Chicago. I feel you.
Yeah. I'm more optimistic. Every year, and I get slammed. I say we're going 17-0. Because I'll be damned. I just can't say we're going to win this game. We're going to lose this game. I just can't do that. So,
yeah, well, when kickoff happens,
but I will never put money on that. I will never. I don't know if you guys ever heard.
So you'll say it, but you're not confident in it.
Yeah,
I think I made a lot of money betting against the Giants because,
I made so much money last year betting against the Giants.
Yeah, that they're not gonna especially when Jones was out. Like that's how bad it was. Like we were so bad without Jones in there.
You had an XFL team out there.
Right.
No,
it was awful.
You're going to sneak on third down.
Oh, I'd love to sit around and talk, but I do have to bounce. It was great meeting y'all.
Yep.
Definitely. Let's go Giants. Like, look, if we win 11 games, I will take it. Okay. If we only win 4 and we have to live through another tanking season, fine. Right. We're going to get a new quarterback for sure. If that's the case and scenario, and it might be someone like a Lamar Jackson, like a rookie that just you plug in and you start winning games. This team is going to be talented in the next, no matter what. After this year, we're going to get better. Like you take a playoff berth if it happens, but if not, it sucks. You chipped another year off my life without seeing a Super Bowl.
But you got to see 4. You
got
to see, and we won't talk about 2000. But at the same time, yes, I agree with you. If we're in the top 10, Jones is done. If we're in the top 10 in the NFL draft, They're not going to
He's
skip
not
out on
coming
another
back.
quarterback.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
hope
peace,
not.
y'all.
Be good, man.
Thanks
Nice
for coming
meeting you.
on. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yep, absolutely.
Bye.
Alrighty. Well, now there's just the three of us. We got to talk about this defense. Obviously, I kind of started that and then it spiraled out of control, but it is what it is. That's the beauty
the
of
life
talking
of a
ball.
Giants fan. Just
Yeah.
you try and
But
hit
yeah,
all areas at one time. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But yeah, I like this front four a lot. I'm really confident what they got going on. I think one name. Oh, and I got to pull out my notes here. Come prepared. I promise.
No.
I can't remember his name to the life of me.
I didn't. So,
It's different. This is your team. You should know what they're doing. I don't. This isn't my team. I got to prepare a little bit. Shit, I'm already forgetting his name. I just saw Quincy Roche. That's what I was going for. Quincy Roche reminds me a lot of Tyus Bowser in a way, at least what he can provide for this defense. Because obviously you have Wink Martindale coming over. So the big things you're going to be looking at is how Baltimore did last year and what their defense did. And I already said that Thibodeau can kind of be like your Odafe Owe, where it's the speedy, kind of dominant alpha edge rusher. Well, Roche can be a lot like Tyus Bowser in the sense that he's going to be a rotational guy, but he's going to get a good bit of playing time. He's very versatile. You can play him rushing the passer, or you can drop him back into coverage. He can do a little bit of that. And he's going to play very, very well against the run. So he's definitely somebody, obviously, while he's not going to start, is going to be, I believe, impactful for this defense and somebody to keep an eye on. And then you have O'Shane Zimenez, who's on like his prove it year, kind of is what he is at this point. You just want to see anything happen with him, which I like Wink. I think if anyone's going to get anything out of these edge rushers, it's going to be him. So maybe you do see a little something as a rotational guy. But
we'll see. I think we just lack depth like everywhere. I think that's why we're going to lose games. It might be because of our offense. It might be because of our secondary, but I guarantee you back half we lose games because people are hurt and we just have no one back. Like especially like if Ojulari or Thibodeau gets hurt, we're screwed at that edge rusher position. I don't trust Zimenez. Like we lost Lorenzo Carter, who was probably the best rotational.
I was just about to bring up Carter. Yep.
It's rough. It's definitely rough out here.
Yeah, and you don't have that depth on the interior, the defensive line out there. Like I like Lawrence and I like Williams as a duo. I think Williams is really going to benefit from having these two good edge rushers on opposite sides of him because he's going to be a guy you can do a lot of stunning with. Like Wink's defense, it's an attacking 3-4. He's really trying to get at the quarterback as much as possible. And Lawrence is very good at that, so he's going to be able to draw up a lot of creative things for him to do to get to the quarterback. And I think he's going to benefit from that big time as well, especially when people are going to be putting most of their attention on Ojulari and Thibodeau. So I think your front four is going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good unit, and I think you're going to get a lot of production out of them.
Definitely. I think they can be super creative with their front four too.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of moving pieces. Like there's not a lot of depth, but I would say you at least, like I said with Roche, you have at least one guy you can kind of throw in there and let him do a little bit of everything, and that always helps. Even if it's just one guy, you get Thibodeau or Ojulari off the field for a couple of plays, let them rest. You throw in somebody that can do a little bit of everything. So their front four can be nice.
And
I like what's there
too. That I know we were talking about execution a few minutes ago. Our new defensive coordinator. I'm pretty sure that he'll have some schemes up his sleeve.
Absolutely.
To get to the quarterback.
Definitely. I think he'll definitely he'll be sending the house at times. He'll be running the cover zero, throwing blitzes everywhere. I think Kayvon Thibodeau works so well with that scheme. Just his length and his speed. If he can develop some pass rush moves, which was my issue of him coming out of college. My really only issue is just that he did the same thing every time. It worked. It's not always going to work in the NFL.
I agree.
Unfortunately. But if he can develop that pass rush move, I think he could be like, not like the best edge rusher. Like he's not going to be like
I said, I think he can be Khalil Mack. I really do. I think he can. I don't like to do one-on-one comparisons, but with his build and what he's able to do, if he can diversify his moveset, put a little bit more in his tool belt, like you said, he can be that dude. He can be one of the best in the league very, very quickly because he has that dominance. He has that speed. He has that power. He has that intelligence. He just doesn't have enough to keep linemen on their toes. Like you said, they're pretty much going to know what's coming. It's just, can you stop it or not? And there's going to be some guys that can't. So he's still going to get to the quarterback a good bit. But then you're going to go up against guys like Wirfs or David Bakhtiari, if he even plays football, he just got put on the PUP list. Like, you're going to run up against these big time tackles that have been around the block and know what they're doing and can stop that kind of stuff with, some fancy moves. But I think Wink can take Thibodeau and really take him to that next level. I really like that fit.
And let's not also forget that the moment Thibodeau was drafted, Strahan texted him and basically said, "I'm going to be your mentor."
Yeah.
So he's gonna learn from the master, if I do say so myself. So I think Thibodeau recognized his weakness, and he's gonna address that. But I mean, his strengths. I mean, they haven't even capped out yet with his strength. I mean, the length in his body, his first step. I mean, he's just gonna continue to be a beast. I'm fully confident this year, and I'm really curious on how they're going to. I mean, are they going to start him off on, right off the bat? Or are they going to kind of push him in there slowly? Because remember,
he's going to be a day one starter. There's no way he's not.
Well, no, I get it, but
no one's going to start over him.
Yeah,
I get it, but with JPP, and again, different regime, I understand. They kind of slowly put him in when he then, basically took it over. But I think it's a win-win situation. You let him develop. And what I mean by develop, I mean he's going to be in there. Maybe 80%, if not 90% of the time, but how they develop him completely to be that stud we know him to be. I'm really curious on how that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it'll be a day one thing. They just throw him out there and let him do his thing. And if he has reps where he's just not getting to the quarterback because they are taking advantage of him not being able to be diverse with his moves and whatnot, they'll pull him aside and be like, "Listen, we know you're strong. We know you can run through people, but you need to be able to do this, this, and this as well." And he's going to be like, okay, he'll take it to the lab, work on it and whatnot. Because I hate this whole narrative that he's lazy and he's not committed. I think that's the dumbest shit in the world.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
like that was so goofy to me when that started. And
it's just a draft. It's just draft racism.
I know. It is what it is. Like it happens every year. Like the receiver, I can't remember his name for the life of me, Traylon Burks, he was lazy, right? We all thought he was lazy, out of shape. Turns out he's just asthmatic, so he couldn't quite go as hard as other people were. So like it's just he said, she said bullshit. I don't believe in that one bit. I think Thibodeau is a hardworking dude, and he's going to go out there and prove that he's that fucking guy.
Yeah, because he knows he's the first round pick for the Giants, and he's the 5th overall, and that comes with some responsibility, and he's aware of that. Yeah. I don't know if you guys recall the interview that Thibodeau had with this coaching staff. Basically, DeBoer was like, "Hey, how are you gonna go? How are you gonna feel about adversity? You're gonna be like 5 games. There's no sacks. What are you gonna do?" And he had the right answer. He said, "I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out." And I mean, of course, we've all had interviews where, I don't want to say we say what we're going to do and then we're like, "Oh crap, I really got to do this now," type deal.
Right. But,
I think with him, he is going to not only talk the talk, but he's going to walk it as well. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about something about he said, she said, in the media or whatnot. I also want to, and I don't mean to get off topic real quick.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
But the same situation about Barkley, DJ, I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently there was an anonymous coach from the NFC that said that Barkley does not know how to play running back. Now, what bothers me about that whole thing is the fact that he's anonymous. If you're going to talk about a professional football player, come out. I don't care who it is. If it's DeBoer, let it be DeBoer, because that's what everybody is worried about. Why be anonymous if you're going to chastise and put a player down? I mean, he said a little more, and I don't have the quote in front of me, but for that, I find that unacceptable because you're a coward. You're hiding behind something. Be man to man about it.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't get caught up. Yeah, I don't get caught up in that stuff because I know if I was, a super athlete in the NFL, I would use that as bulletin board material.
Oh, of course.
And every single one of these guys are more competitive than I am because they have to be in the NFL. So I'm sure, if anything, that's just more motivation. So I'm not worried about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as long as when it comes to dealing with that kind of stuff and I'm going to bring this back to the Bears because that's my team. As long as we're not like Mitch Trubisky turning off all the TVs in the practice room because you can't handle the criticism, it's not a big deal. Like obviously in that situation, you're letting it get to you, you're letting it fuck you up, and we saw that with Mitch. He was all over the place up here when it came to playing quarterback, and he just couldn't handle the criticism. But I don't think it'll be a problem for Saquon or Kayvon or anyone like that. I think they'll be fine. I think Saquon just needs to figure out his own shit, and he knows that. It's all dependent on what he's dealing with. You said pretty much right when you jumped in that he has to overcome that mental hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
And if that, that's really the only demon he's fighting. He's fighting his inner demons. It doesn't matter what the press say. It doesn't matter what Joe at the bar says. All that matters is what's going on in here, and he needs to figure that out. Because if not, we're going to be going from this kid is generational talent, one of the best running back prospects we've ever seen, to man, what a waste of a draft pick that was. What an absolute waste. What he could have been.
Could have been.
Right. Yeah. Saquon, I feel bad for him. I really do. Because it's not like he's an injury prone guy. Every single injury he's had has been like a complete freak accident where it could happen to anybody at any time. It's not like he keeps aggravating the same thing because it's been like his ACL, his ankle, and something else in his leg. Yeah. It's been three different parts of his leg. Yeah, it's not like he's hurting the same thing over and over. It's just one thing gets healthy and then another thing falls apart randomly, freak accident. Like we saw the one, I think it was his ankle that he hurt against Chicago because the turf was fucking garbage in Chicago. Like
all turf is garbage.
Oh yeah, turf should be done away with.
Well, let's not forget his injury that he got against the Cowboys last year. I was there when I saw that grapefruit. I was just like, oh, and I made a bet on that game too. So. Yes, I paid it. I paid it in full. So.
Well, you just got done saying you don't bet on the Giants.
Well, no. I won't bet that they're 17. That they'll go 17.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got you.
I will. Matter of fact, I do believe they'll beat them at home because I live in Dallas actually.
Okay.
So they'll beat the Dallas Cowboys here at home.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. Last year, Daniel Jones got a grade 17 concussion.
Yeah.
Now 17. Goddamn.
Yeah, but
I just made that up. But
and everybody.
Oh, okay.
17.
I was going to say I didn't even know that was a
awesome.
Thing. Damn.
I'm like, man, that's a ranked high concussion. But let's not forget though. Before Jones, even when Barkley was out, and this was after he got his ankle, we were attacking. And it was 17-10. We were still competing. Then Mike Glennon came in and just got that taken. The moment Glennon got in, I looked at my son, who's 15, diehard Giants fan as myself. I said, Diggs is going to get his pick. And what happened?
Well,
like a couple plays later, he got his pick.
Yeah.
So, gotta love it.
Yeah, I know the feeling all too well of watching Mike Glennon. No football fan should have to watch Mike Glennon quarterback their favorite
that's right.
team.
He played for Chicago.
We paid him $15 million and then drafted a quarterback second overall.
See, that's the only thing I'll give credit, although we shouldn't have signed him, but I think we got him on Groupon.
I mean,
I think we got him on Groupon. Like it was like 80% off. So,
You're not paying.
He's probably the worst backup quarterback in the league, to be honest.
He's not there. Won a game since he left Chicago.
Yeah, did he win in Chicago?
He won one game in Chicago.
Yeah,
but it was like a penalty. It was like a 3-0 type of game or something. I think it was. I don't. Someone brought that to my game.
Yeah. It wasn't a high scoring game or anything like that. And then Mitch Trubisky came in and he threw 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and there was a game where he threw 7 total passes. Like that quarterback room that year was abysmal. But we're not here to talk about Chicago. We're here to talk about the Giants.
Let's talk about you got your franchise quarterback, so I'm gonna look at it.
I mean, if you ask anyone on Twitter, we don't.
Yeah,
I think we do. And I thank you guys for setting that up for us. That's why I wore the Fields jersey today. You can't see it. I wore it because you guys hand wrapped and handed it to us. And then you guys took Tony at 20, right? Isn't that how that went down?
Yeah, okay. but because we took Tony at 20, we got Thibodeau and Neal. So
exactly. It was a win-win both ways. It was a win-win both ways. Yeah. You guys get a franchise tackle and a franchise edge rusher. We get a franchise quarterback. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Except for I mean, I'm sure you would, but like if you get a top 5 pick this year, we've been talking about Bryce Young, even though 5 Points wasn't a big fan. I haven't done my research on the quarterbacks yet, so I don't know who is and isn't that guy. I just know the names getting thrown around. So
I am a big Bryce Young guy. I think he I just finished my film with him. I'm watching CJ Stroud now, who I'm like about. But Bryce Young reminds me pretty much like Joe Burrow-esque coming out of school. Obviously, he didn't have the year that Joe Burrow did, but like he's like very poised in the pocket. He makes good decisions. He doesn't have like the greatest arm, but he can get the ball down there. He's kind of lollipop-ish, but he's super pro ready. And like he just seems like.
Listen, you got to watch yourself with pro ready quarterbacks, though. The last two pro ready quarterbacks I can think of are Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett. If you're throwing your name into that ring,
he's actually pro ready. He's just not a guy. When people say pro ready about Kenny Pickett, it's just like he just doesn't have a ceiling. Like he already hit a ceiling. That's what he means by pro ready. But Bryce Young is already good at the things.
Like I said, I haven't watched Young. I don't know. I don't actually know. I'm just saying that pro ready title. I'd be careful getting excited about that because it does not have a good track record.
I actually commend you guys for already looking at quarterbacks for next year's draft. I haven't even. I'm waiting for preseason. I'm trying to see who we have right now, what we got, and how. I mean, you guys are more. I would even say more dedicated than me right now.
And I'm not even a Giants fan.
Well, no. I'm just saying. You're already forecasting.
I'm just
DJ. Let me ask you this, because Mike or Miller, you're not a Giants fan. Are you looking for the future quarterback right now? I mean, are you Team Jones or not?
I'm definitely not Team Jones. I think. Well, I'm looking at quarterbacks right now because I'm more of a draft guy in general, and I love to watch film.
Are you going to Kansas City?
I definitely.
Are you going to Kansas City next year? That's where the draft's at.
I will not. No, I don't have the money for that. If someone, if I get big, sponsor me. I'll fly out to Kansas City. No, but I'm definitely looking for the Giants. I honestly don't know if we'll be in a position to get Bryce Young. I don't know if we'll be in a position to get any quarterbacks. I think Bryce Young will go first. We'll see. CJ Stroud, I think, might take a dip like Justin Fields did, which I think Justin Fields is a way better quarterback right now than CJ Stroud is, or was at the time than CJ Stroud is right now. I also see a guy like I didn't watch 11s yet. The guy from Kentucky, he has hype around him, and then there's also the guy from Coastal Carolina, Grayson McCabe, I think his name is.
Something like that.
He has some hype.
It's Mick something.
We'll see. I watched him against. I think they played Wake Forest last year in the bowl game. I wasn't super impressed, so we'll see about him as well. But Bryce Young's the only guy I feel confident in, and he's going to go one to someone, whoever gets the first overall pick.
Unless it's Chicago, and we'll be taking Will Anderson, baby.
Will Anderson, who I'm interested. I don't see the hype like that.
I don't know. Like I said, I haven't watched anybody. I just know that's the name. I'm just throwing out names right now with those guys. I have not watched a single. The only guy I have watched tape on is Jackson Smith-Njigba, because my dream is that Chicago finishes like 7th, 8th pick. Chicago can get him. Do the whole Ohio State connection thing we see all these teams trying to do, connecting their quarterbacks with kids from their school. I'd love that. Him or Jordan Addison from Pitt. Brett Coleman put me onto him. I had him on here to talk about the Texans, and he brought up Jordan. Yeah, that wasn't meant to be a flex. I'm just like actually saying he's the one who put me onto it mid-recording. No, that's just not me. I'm not like that. I'm not one to flex. So moving on, unless we want to continue talking about Daniel Jones, because you weren't really here when we talked about him. It was kind of
I will say this. I am Team Jones.
Okay.
I believe that he's going to have the right people around him, and now it's up to him. I mean, like I said, if we're sitting at top 10, if we have I'll even go top 12 pick. We'll go quarterback. Because the Patriots got Jones at 16.
Right.
So, Jones, I mean, we didn't pick up his 5th-year option, and we didn't pick him up because, that wasn't Shane's pick. That was Gettleman's pick. They inherited him.
Yeah.
But I think Jones will, accept that as a challenge, and this is something that he can control. And, if we can win some games, but the question is, and I don't want to get too far. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
If we're sitting at 4-0, DJ, okay? If we're sitting at 4-0 and Jones is at 1 touchdown pass, 3 interceptions, 252, let's say 2,000 yards passing, right? Are you okay with him?
Wait, 4-0, 2,000 yards passing?
Yeah, we're 4-0.
What kind of fucking stat line is that?
I'm sorry.
2,000 yards passing,
you gotta
1
think about
touchdown,
it.
3 interceptions through 4 games.
You
That would be like.
So you think what 4 games? Quarterbacks average what 200 yards?
Let's say like 1,000 yards.
Okay,
because you'd have to average 500 yards a game.
You're right. You're right. Look, I sucked at math. Okay?
No, you're good. You're
when
good.
I took business math my senior year.
Listen, I failed math my freshman year of college. I feel you. I had to drop it.
Statistics right now.
College does not count.
Fair enough.
So let's say like 750 yards, 3 picks, 1 touchdown. But we're 4-0. We're still winning games.
Bro, it sounds like we're winning games in spite of Daniel Jones and not because of him.
Right.
And if that was the stat line, I'm like, all right, we're gonna go and we're gonna try to win. And then I would throw in Tyrod Taylor because Tyrod Taylor is a guy that won't really lose you a lot of games. You see him last year with the Texans. If he didn't get hurt, they would have beat the Browns. He was doing well. I'm a Tyrod Taylor guy.
I am too. I loved him in Virginia Tech. I did.
He's just unfortunately has just had amazing quarterbacks behind him, apparently.
Right.
So
but now let's flip it. Let's say like out of 4 games, he got 6 touchdowns, 1,200 yards, right? 1,200. I'm just big numbers. Maybe a pick, maybe 2 fumbles, but we're 1-3.
That sounds like a defense problem to me.
Right. Well, it sounds like a team problem, not just
either way. It's not Daniel's problem.
The way I think basic stats really.
Yeah, I'm with that too. I'm not a big fan of just going off stats. It's all about how he's looking. Like if he's putting up, I'll say this: if he's got like you said, 750 yards, a touchdown, 3 picks.
Yeah.
If we're looking at this, like the offensive line just isn't doing their job. Receivers are dropping passes, batting them to the defense. But Daniel Jones has looked calm under pressure. He's been hitting the right read. And that's a different story.
Okay.
But if we're looking at it with, 6 touchdowns, 1,200 yards, a pick and 2 fumbles. Well, first of all, the fumbling problem's back. That's a big issue. Second of all, maybe the rest of the team is maybe Dable's done a great job of scheming guys open for him. And he's just hitting slants left and right and letting Tony run 70, 80 yards down the field. Right. Or maybe you're hitting Saquon short. Or whoever. Whoever. You have multiple playmakers. Letting those playmakers do their thing.
Right.
Then it's like, well, is it really Daniel Jones doing his thing, or is everyone else doing it better? And maybe we can see what Tyrod could do here. Like, it's more dependent on what's actually the product on the field, not so much the stat line after the game. Like, for example, again, bringing it back to the Bears, Justin Fields statistically was horrid last year. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, less than 2,000 yards. But if you actually sit down and watch the tape, there were plays where you're like, okay, that's the kid we drafted from Ohio State. That's the kid we traded up for. That's our franchise quarterback. It's more about what you're seeing on tape and what you're seeing on film than what the stat sheet.
Running yards, Fields did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
420, average 6.9 yards per carry. By the way, one of the nicest stat lines ever.
Nice.
I'll say with the 1-3, God forbid, it's the 1-3 Jones. No, I'm sorry, the 4-0 Jones. As long as he's still winning, I think that's the only stat I really care about.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, winning's not really a QB stat. And people, you talk about Twitter, people go crazy when you hear that on Twitter. But like, I don't know. I'm so off on Daniel Jones. My question for you, Sneaky, is like,
yes, sir.
What have you seen from Daniel Jones to be like, I'm still team Daniel Jones?
So there have been moments last year where, you can see first of all, I mean, the owner said it himself that, we screw this guy up as much as we can. The guy's had 15 different offensive coordinators in the 4 years he's been in. And I mean, if he could have had some kind of stability in the beginning, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. And if he had some kind of protection, it was, I mean, the time even Barkley suffering from the type of protection. But with what he's got, his rookie year, he threw over 20 touchdown passes. Of course, the COVID year, I mean, COVID was COVID. I'm not making that an excuse for him, but he has shown me flashes of what he can do. And I was there in the Philly game. He didn't look good, but he looked good to me, if that makes any sense. I saw him play. I saw him how he was communicating with his teammates on the sidelines. I saw how he was interacting with his teammates, even in Dallas when he came here. I mean, just little snippets, little, bright spots, progressions. And if it's one of those, if he had, we would see a different Daniel Jones. That's why. That's only. Give him a fair shake. Give him a fair shake.
I get what you're saying. And I think that's what this year is. This year is his fair shake. If he can do it with Dable, then you bring him back. But at this point, and I understand seeing flashes and getting excited because he's a young quarterback, but we're going into year 4 now. If he hasn't put it together by year 4, that's when you're kind of like,
But it's year 4. How many offensive?
Right, and I get that, and it's kind of a different situation with Jones. But it's one of those things where you need to see more than flashes, even when he's had so many offensive coordinators. If he's going to be like an elite top of the line, what you want as your franchise quarterback, he would show a little bit more than flashes. But maybe he can be a serviceable middle of the pack. You can win not because of him, but with him type of guy.
Right.
Maybe you get that out of him. And that's a hard maybe.
But it does take, it even took Eli 3 years to understand and digest Gilbright's system. And thus we got, a Super Bowl. And I'm not comparing Eli to Jones, not at all, or vice versa at all. I'm just saying that it takes a minute for for a quarterback to understand the scheme of the offense. I mean, that's what's reasons for the sacks.
Daniel Jones just can't sense pressure at all. He has no idea what's going on in the pocket. I talked about this before you joined in, but when the pocket starts to collapse, he collapses with it. And as a quarterback in the NFL, a starting caliber franchise quarterback, you can't be doing that. And you're bringing up Eli Manning, and Eli Manning fits into that category where it's like middle of the pack. You win with him, not because of him type guy. I think that's probably the best you're going to see. Like Daniel Jones, if we want to talk like a ceiling, so to speak, we're looking at like Jimmy Garoppolo. If he at his best right now, I think that's what you're going to get. I think you're past in terms of development, getting Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, whoever you want to say, Josh Allen, if you want to stick with the Dable comparison. You're looking at like Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill right now. And you can win ball games with those guys, but everything around them has to be perfect. And even then, there's going to be times like we saw with Jimmy Garoppolo where he gets in his own way and does goofy shit when it comes down to him. And then what are you going to do? Because Daniel Jones, he has that goof gene to him, whatever you want to call it. He's got that bit of goofiness to him where he'll do something. You're like, what the hell was that?
Well, I mean, you mentioned those quarterbacks who have, played great and whatnot, but the only difference between those quarterbacks and Jones hasn't had an offensive line. Those quarterbacks you mentioned had offensive line. It's really hard to throw the ball when you're on your back.
Right, you're not wrong. Yeah, I'm just saying I don't see Daniel Jones from what we've seen getting any better than that. I get what you're trying. Right, yeah. I get that. Yeah. But at this point in his career, if he was gonna be that guy, we would have at least seen not quite consistent, but more than just flashes. Like even Deshaun Watson, for example. Look how horrid everything, I hate Deshaun Watson, but the dude's got talent. Look how horrid everything in Houston was. It was a complete shit show. But he was still an MVP candidate or a borderline MVP candidate.
And here's the reason why I brought up that scenario before, because his last year he threw 33 touchdowns and 7 picks, but they were 5-11, 4-12, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I can't give Daniel Jones the I can't hook him yet because we haven't seen what he can do. I have faith, and he makes all the throws. He makes all. I mean, you have his teammates saying he makes the throw. Again, it's hard to throw the ball when you're on his back. And I hope this year, even though it's we're only giving him 1 year, 17 games, when he had 4 before, the 4 years prior. I'm sorry, the 3 years prior to kind of prove himself of being worthy of that 6th pick. And I think he's going to step up to the challenge, step up to the plate and be like, I know what I need to do and I'm going to do it. So
listen,
I hope he does the damn thing.
There's definitely a world where he looks like a starting quarterback out there for them. But I'm telling you, you're not going to get a super high upside guy. You're going to have to have like a top 10 defense on the other side of the ball. You're going to have great receivers around him. Saquon's going to have to come back to form. That offensive line is going to have to look like the Browns or the Eagles or the Colts. And Brian Dable is going to have to prove to be a top 5 coach in the NFL if you're going to win a ring with Daniel Jones. It's just everything. Like I said, it's exactly like Jimmy Garoppolo. It's in the sense that he's got that goofball gene to him. He's going to do goofy stuff, but maybe you can get him to pull it all together and do just enough to where he's not getting in your way anymore, and you let everyone else around him elevate. I get what you're trying to say, and I understand that. I do. But even with everything going on around him, if he was that dude, he would have elevated the things around him. He would have worked through it like we saw with Deshaun Watson. I understand that situation matters a lot for a quarterback. I get that completely. But these guys that are elite talents are going to be elite regardless, unless we're looking at a case like Josh Allen, who's an outlier because he had so many technical issues wrong with his mechanics and his throwing motion that all had to be fixed. But I mean, Deshaun Watson is the perfect example. He was put into one of the worst, if not the worst ran team in football. And he was an MVP candidate the last time he played football on a 5-11 football team.
No, with Deshaun Watson. I mean, what do you mean? Like his team was stripped from him. He wasn't put into a team. I mean, Hobbs was gone.
Either way, my point is he was playing on a terrible team in a poorly ran franchise, doing maybe it's not the same. And again,
that's why he wanted to be. That's why he wanted out after he signed the contract.
That's my point. If Daniel Jones was that guy, that's the conversation we'd be having right now. We'd be talking about, well, is Daniel Jones going to ask out if the Giants can't put it all together this year? We wouldn't be saying, is Daniel Jones going to be able to put it together this year?
Yeah, they'll just let him go.
Right. But my point is, if Daniel Jones was that guy, if he was going to be this elite quarterback, we would be having a different conversation. It would be him trying to get out like Watson was. It wouldn't be us trying to see if he can put it together. That's the difference between a quarterback that you can win with and a quarterback that you win because of.
Right. I mean, and I hear what you're saying. I guess what we're going to have to agree to disagree is you don't think he could be that guy, and I think there's a possibility that he could be that guy. I mean,
well, my thing is like, what's the difference between Daniel Jones and his situation and Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold actually definitely was the better prospect coming out of college. Definitely had more talent.
He was out of USC. That's fair.
Out of USC, right?
Yeah.
He got drafted into also a bad situation with an awful coach, just like Daniel Jones. And like situation matters, but situation matters so much with development. And that like Daniel Jones is now entering year 4, and like Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl at year 3. And like
one MVP year 2.
That was a different team that was set around Mahomes.
Right, but what I'm saying,
Mahomes is going to be that guy regardless. We saw the talent. The talent was there. Everything was there.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, if we're going to use that example, what about Josh Rosen? I mean, he was drafted in the first round.
Yeah, he's just a bad quarterback.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. He was also brought in a bad situation in Arizona.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the talent.
And
then,
the
point.
And then the following year, I'm just saying if we're gonna just throw out quarterbacks that were drafted in bad situations, I think, which I agree. Darnold, I mean, it was the Jets, and I think his first year he had malaria, if I'm not mistaken.
It was something. I don't know if it was malaria, but he did have
mono. I'm sorry, I said malaria.
I was going to say malaria seemed to be goofy.
I was like, malaria's crazy.
Oh my god! I meant thank you guys. I meant
yeah.
But look. We could. I'm going to defend Daniel Jones until I'm blue in the face. I'll come out and say that. DJ, I have my conversation with Giant fans as well. And the fact is that, as of right now, Daniel Jones is my guy, and I'm gonna support him as much as I can. And now, if it was totally different, if he had the line, if he had the coordinator, I would not have any water to hold up my argument, or any dog in the fight to hold up my argument to kind of defend Daniel Jones. But the fact that he had these elements, and then the owner John Mara said it himself. We messed up his career. What owner admits that? I mean, he admitted it himself. You tell me what owner admitted that and then still give this guy another chance for one more year.
Right. I mean, my point.
They must believe in him some.
I don't know. I think this is a situation, not to cut you off, Tom, but this is a situation where you can, there's two different angles to it. And I don't want to say there's arguments for both sides, but there's things that are kind of left up to interpretation that you can look at it from different angles, just however you want to fit your narrative. So it's an agree to disagree situation. And I'm saying this because we have a couple more things to hit on, and I don't want this to go for 2 hours.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dom, if you want to give your point in real quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just going to say the reason I brought up Darnold is because situations matter so much in development in growing a quarterback.
Agreed.
And when you grow a quarterback into a bad situation, you can't then it's impossible. I've never seen a quarterback go from a bad situation for 3 years to a good situation and just flip the switch to being good because they've had so many bad habits and they learned so many bad habits and bad things.
I haven't seen it myself, but I'll tell you, look up Jim Plunkett's story. That's one.
Yeah, but Jim Plunkett played when exactly? That's a little bit.
Look, he's
before my
never,
time.
Look, before my time too. I'm not. Okay. I mean, I'm old, but I ain't that old.
Well, I'm just saying I don't know at all. Yeah. Like I'm not trying to assume your age. I'm just saying I have no idea what he played. I didn't mean that as an insult to you.
Well, Google's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Google just Jim.
I should know when Plunkett played. I know the player. I just don't know the era.
Yeah. Well, let's just say it ended in winning 2 Super Bowls.
Okay, so. Fair enough. Well,
yeah.
Either way,
moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Sorry, Miller. Sorry.
No, you're good. I respect you being passionate. I like it. But the last couple podcasts I've done have gone like 2 hours long, and those I'm going to be totally honest with you. Those don't get the views. So I'm trying to keep it.
Well, it's funny because I did 4-hour shows and I did get quite a few views, but then when I dropped down to 2. Yeah, my views kind of suffered a little bit.
Yeah, well, I don't have the following you do. You know, I'm like 20,000 followers behind you on TikTok, and I got just under 200 subs on YouTube. So I don't have the luxury of having the diehards that'll come in and check it out. I gotta like beg for 60 views right now. So 2-hour videos from some unknown guy who the recording quality for me has been pretty shitty. Hopefully it's better because we're using a new platform. I gotta pick my battles, you know.
Understood. I'll watch it 15 times, just myself.
I appreciate it.
I'll put it on loop when I sleep.
Right. Awesome. Appreciate it. No, but in all seriousness, like another thing, I just felt like that conversation was going in circles. I don't want to sit here and say the same.
Actually, it was because I wasn't gonna.
Yeah, we're both stuck on our stance. We're not going to go with it. Agree to disagree. Exactly. Yeah. So moving on. We talked about the front four. Now we got to talk about the linebackers, and I don't have any hope for this group. I don't know if either of you are going to say anything different. I think Blake Martinez is dog water. I think who's even the other starter? Crowder, Tay Crowder. Tay Crowder is one of the worst starting linebackers in football. That's what ESPN says.
Well, then they don't know what the hell. Look, Crowder got us. He got us a couple victories. So, Mr. Irrelevant is irrelevant. Hold on, I got to pull it up too because I see that the linebacking core has changed. I mean, it just rotates. So
right, as most teams do. Most teams that's kind of the trend nowadays. You're rotating unless you got that superstar number one guy. You're going to do a lot of rotating,
and that's going to be. I mean,
we have a bunch of nobodies. Yeah, no, Tay Crowder is a special teams guy.
That's what he is. He shouldn't be your number 2 linebacker.
So we got Coughlin.
Coughlin stinks.
Yeah, we got Coughlin. We got Crowder.
I like the rookies. I'll give you that. I like Mckeithen and I like Beavers.
Mckeithen, he's a beast. Yeah. You know, with Blake, you know, coming off of an ACL, we just got to see what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, especially talking about a guy that's not very athletic to begin with. That's kind of always been his big thing. He's a tackle machine, but he can't do jack shit in coverage. And then he started to get serviceable in coverage, and then he tears his ACL. Yeah. It's like any coverage ability he had just got wiped.
I think his first season with the Giants was phenomenal. I mean, he made some awesome plays the first season. Of course, the second, I mean, our defense was just bad.
Yeah.
DJ, you remember that Atlanta game where our linebackers were getting burnt left and right, and I hate to say it, you know, I'm a fan of Peppers, but God, he was killing us. That I mean, it was just I'm sorry.
No. Our linebackers are horrendous, which is fine because I don't know how much they matter in a Wink Martindale system. I don't know how many of them will be out there.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm not a huge linebacker guy personally. I think they're the.
Laylo's played well too. I'm going down the roster right now.
I just don't think they matter that much in today's NFL.
It depends on the system and what guys you got out there. Like if you've got a Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, Darius Leonard, they're going to be game changers. But if you're looking at a team, if you can get away with playing safeties in the box, that's kind of the trend nowadays.
Right, as a linebacker.
Yeah, but
he's an edge.
Yeah, we're looking at him more as a pass rusher. We're talking like stand-up, off-ball linebackers.
Right.
And at 3-4, he's going to be coming off the edge.
You already talked about Roche.
Yeah. But the big thing with Wink Martindale's defenses is these guys are going to be blitzing a lot. They're going to be going at the quarterback. And I mentioned it a little bit earlier. A couple of these guys, specifically Beavers, and it's either Mcfadden or Coughlin. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. They were edge rushers at some point in college. So those guys being able to get to the quarterback, that's going to be helpful for this defense. So Darion Beavers might be a guy you see out there a decent bit. He's also fantastic against the run. Like I said early on, he's just a hard-nosed, old school, blow you up, punch you in the mouth type of linebacker. And I love it personally because I'm a big linebacker guy. So Dom, you're breaking my heart over here. But it's just not a great group on paper. It's not, but maybe you can get a little bit of something out of him. And maybe Martinez running at the quarterback, he can wrap up, he can tackle. Maybe that's going to be his strength. Maybe they're going to find a way to get some use out of him that way. But none of these guys are very good in coverage. It's the big thing.
We'll see. Yeah, I think he'll get played off the field and
probably. Yeah, and the thing with Wink's defense too is I don't know how much that cover zero type of defense you're going to be able to run year one, primarily because of these corners, which we can get into here after I make this point. You're not going to be able to rely on these guys to get up and press every single play and stay with their man every single play. Like, apart from his name's completely escaped me, Jackson. Apart from Adoree Jackson,
yeah,
this group is big time question marks. You don't know what they are. Kind of undersized. So press man isn't necessarily going to be their best friend. So I'd assume you're going to see a decent bit of zone at first, which would probably include the linebackers for a little bit, which could get concerning. But I don't know. Wink's a smart dude. He'll figure out a way to do it. Maybe you're going to see a lot of safeties in the box or something of that nature. Which even then, other than McKinney, I'm not a big fan of the safeties. Maybe the rookie will come up and play linebacker or in a linebacker box spot because he's a hard hitter, right? That's kind of his thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe we see something.
I kind of like our corners from perspective. Like, Adoree Jackson is the most athletic person I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he's definitely up there. And then I like Darnay Holmes. Actually, he's coming out the slot. But Flott is also a slot guy, so we'll see. Flott did decent at times, but he also got exposed and targeted a lot. But that's also because he was playing alongside Derek Stingley, and they're not going to target Derek Stingley. So, and we also have Robinson,
right?
Guy that was a rookie last year from UCF, who I also kind of like. So I think there's guys there that could not make this the worst corner room in the NFL. Who could go and do something. So it's not the worst position group on the Giants.
The thing I have with these corners is I like the way they project. Like, I think Robinson and Holmes I think Robinson can be a good number 2 guy long term, and I think Holmes can be a good slot long term, but they're not there yet. They've got a lot of work to do. So I think this year you're probably going to see a decent bit of them getting exposed at least early on, and maybe Wink will find ways to scheme them to be in the right positions, and working with him will help them out. I think long term it'll be a good group, but as of right now, it's very raw. It needs a lot of work, and those guys are your starters, which is not something you want. Like, if we're talking about these guys as your 4th, 5th, 6th corner, different story. You're like, this is a great guy, hidden gem. He's going to be a star long term, right? Going to develop, be a nice piece. But as your starters right now, it's a bit iffy, at least for me. And I like Flott as well, but I think he kind of falls into that same category where he needs a little bit of work. And that's kind of the big thing with these corners. They just need work.
DJ, who are they going to have as a number 2 now?
Holmes, maybe? I don't know. I mean, Holmes is probably the second best corner on the roster right now. He played slot last year a lot, and he was pretty decent at it. Unfortunately, we drafted a corner in the first round who decided to rob people at gunpoint. So he would be useful on our team.
Well, at least he came back and paid them off and say, "Hey, this didn't happen."
He tried.
At least
allegedly.
Allegedly. You can give it a good old college try to cover it up.
I like this team for the future, or at least, sorry, I'll just say I like this corner group for the future.
They project well. I agree.
Anyway, so
yeah, I agree. They project well.
Not only the corner group, I'll say the whole defensive backfield is going to be. Look, we got McKinney and we got Belton back there, and that's why they're going to be the free and the strong safety. They're going to clean up the mess that's going to be on the that's going to be left over. So, I think we'll. It's going to be interesting. I'm still curious on who's going to be the number 2.
I've seen Robinson. Granted, it was a little bit of research that I did. I'm not like digging into the depths of Giants Twitter rumors, but the like surface level research I was able to do in terms of like who's playing where, it looked to be Robinson, but I could be wrong. I think Robinson projects the second best out of this group, so I wouldn't.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now the James Bradbury's gone, which needed to happen, but it's a very unfortunate move that you guys had to make.
Dude's stud. $15 million.
Yeah, you had to cut him to sign the rookies, right? Wasn't that what it was? Like you couldn't sign your rookies if he wasn't gone. That's just unfortunate. It's a needed cut, but it's very unfortunate. Because again, if he was there, we'd be having a different conversation about these three corners. Where it's like, these are young guys; they project well, but starting them right now, it's iffy. But moving to the safeties, I love Xavier McKinney. I think we can all agree on that. Dude is a stud, fringe top 10 guy, great playmaker, very good at securing tackles, very good at wrapping up. He's going to be like you're going to be running a lot of like cover zero and a lot of one high. So he's going to be that kind of guy back there, your last resort, running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And you're fine with that because he can do that. He can make the plays. He has the ability, the decent closing speed or above average closing speed, whatever you want to put it. He's a ball hawk. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And then you look at strong safety. And like, yeah, I get that you guys are excited about Belton. I understand it. But Julian Love, Yusuf Corker, is it Henry Black? Whatever Black's name is.
Yeah, I think Henry.
Let me double check here. I've got to pull it. Yeah, Henry Black. It's just a lot of mediocre, if that. Like literally, I have in my notes, I just have the word meh written under it. Like there's not a lot to get excited about there. Like Belton, I get it, but he still needs a lot of work. Like
he's a rookie.
Yeah, obviously. But I'm talking about the guy you're trotting out as your starter day one this year is going to be meh. Like, yeah, Belton projects well. I like where he projects. But right now, it's iffy. McKinney doesn't have a partner in crime. He doesn't have a guy that he can really rely on as of right now.
I think if we're running cover one, sorry, I talked a lot. I'll just say, if we're running cover one, Julian Love could fit in kind of well. He played corner in college at Michigan State.
I'm not sure.
But he did play corner, and he could man up. He's obviously not the best. The reason why they put him at safety. But he can do it. And if you're running cover one, it's not the worst option out there.
Yeah, and like I said, I can see Belton coming up and playing in the box, and I don't hate that for him. But like, if we see a lot of too high in the NFL nowadays, and I'm sure Wink's going to try to mix some of that in there, just because that's kind of like the way it's trending. You see guys like Mahomes really struggle against it. So if you're going to be trying that,
we're going to get cooked in too high.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're going to get cooked.
I think Belton is in a good situation because he gets to learn from McKinney. Mm-hmm. And I think if, and maybe at some point, McKinney is the type of safety that can recover enough to give, Belton that extra hand if need be. Hopefully, can clean up some mess or whatnot. Because I think he knows now that he's now the veteran, being on the team for 3 years now. He knows what he has to do as a veteran. Give these young guys some guidance. And I would love to be Belton right now. Because you get to learn from McKinney. So, and kind of get that knowledge from him. So. We'll see. It's really hard for me to assess and judge rookies, and especially the DBs, because there's really no way to analyze or to rank DBs. There's no stat. You can't go off of interceptions. You can't go off of tackles. You
can't go off of stat. You just gotta watch them.
Right. But then even that can be subjective. I could say he's physical all day, but someone would be like, oh no, he missed some tackles. Okay. All right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, missing tackles isn't necessarily a lack of physicality. It's a lack of.
I'm just giving an example.
I get what you mean. Okay.
But at the same time, because my eye test could be different than your eye test. That's all I'm trying to say.
Fair enough.
But at the same time, he's going to learn from McKinney, and I just hope that we can recover from the guy that we drafted first round to stick up people and pay them off later on. One of Gettleman's although I did give Gettleman his props for getting us Thomas in the same draft. You know, at least we got him in the first round. But
right.
We'll see. I mean, I'm really excited for what this whole regime have done, what Shane has put on the field, you know, all getting the free agents and also these rookies. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
We'll see.
I guess the last question here is, I mean, obviously, G-Man, I think I know your answer to this, but how do you think this team's going to do this year?
Go ahead, DJ. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say 5-12. I think 5.
I'm in the same boat. I think
a good range for them. Their Vegas over under is 7.5. So if you want to make money, you bet
the under. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I just don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Jones at the end of the day. And if Tyrod gets put in, he's not going to win you a ton of ball games.
Yeah,
he'll look
plus no depth.
Right, and there's no depth, and you have injury concerns all across the offense, everywhere except the line. Right. And one of those skill position guys goes out, it's a whole different story. And first-year head coach, first-year GM, it's defense trying to learn a new scheme, especially when the corners aren't going to be able to play it right away. It's just not a great look for the Giants. The future's very bright. I like what the Giants are setting up. Yeah, but this year it's going to be a top 10 pick year.
I will agree that a good defensive scheme it does take about a good like 4 to 6 games for the team to understand, you know, what the hell they're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, I can't argue with what you're saying because of how we played for the last 5 to 6 years, and but it's really hard for me to sit here and say that. You know, I believe I'm going to say the same thing that Judge said. You know, we have 17 opportunities and we'll see what's going to happen. And I believe I wouldn't be shocked if there's a lot riding on this year. And if Daniel Jones is successful, I'm not going to be shocked at all. If he isn't, I mean, okay, then he's just the same old Daniel, same old, like, right. What did he say? He's a pessimistic, same old Daniel Jones. But if he's not the same old Daniel, I'd be like, I'm not going to sit here and say I knew it, because I'm just being hopeful. And all the training camps, interviews are going. I mean, training camp practices. He's progressing in this offense. He's looking good. Tyrod's looking good, and I can't remember who that third Webb. I think we had
Davis Webb.
Webb. He's looking good too. So, but we're playing against each other. I mean, that's no.
Yeah, you got to take those training camp reports with a grain of salt. You can't read that,
which I do. But it's better that they're saying that than saying Daniel is trash every single practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's throwing straight to the dirt. But we'll see. I this year's my first year being a season ticket holder. I'm excited. DJ, if you need tickets, let me know. We'll talk offline. We'll see.
Respectable. Listen, I mean this with the utmost respect, but when you're quoting Joe Judge to sound optimistic,
well, I mean, I'm just,
like, no, I get what you're going for.
Good thing that he said,
but just the concept of being optimistic while quoting Joe Judge is a bit iffy.
At least give me credit that I admitted that I got it from Joe Judge.
Yeah. I mean,
I could have said I made that up myself. We all know.
Or said you could have said you got it from literally anywhere else.
Yeah, my wife told me that. We have 17 opportunities. You better get this one right.
Yeah, you got
that might be a concerning thing to say during your marriage,
right? Right.
17 opportunities. All right, listen. I'm too young to be talking about marriage. We don't need to get into all that.
It's fun. She's standing right in front of me. I had to say that.
All right. Well, either way, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks to 5PointsVids as well. We went on for like 50 minutes after he left.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. No, you're totally fine. Listen. We're talking ball. I don't mind it at all. As long as we're not going 2 hours plus, we're good.
I do have one last thing to say.
Go for it.
Let's go Giants.
Fair enough. Well, I guess the last thing to do, if you guys want to plug anything, not that G-Man necessarily needs it. He's a bit bigger than I am, but I mean, if you want to, you can go for it.
Well, the only thing I want to say, Tuesday on Make It Count Sneaky G podcast, we are having a giveaway for some training camp tickets, and also Fun Fest tickets. Just join the show 8:00 Dallas, Texas time. You guys know to find me, Sneaky G Man, YouTube.
Wait, when's that again?
Tuesday.
I hate to tell you this, but this is going to go up after that.
Okay, then don't come then.
I'm sorry.
Wait, no, let me start over. I hope you showed up Tuesday for the giveaway on Make It Count, the Sneaky G Podcast.
Yeah, I got to disclose that because I'm recording these a lot in advance for the way I have everything set up. So
no worries.
Yeah, no problem. Dom, if you want to plug your Twitter or anything, go for it.
Yeah, Twitter, TikTok, djaxsports. I don't.
Oh shit, I didn't know you were on TikTok. Send me your link after this. I'll follow you. I didn't know you were on TikTok.
I got you. No,
all right,
appreciate it.
Yeah,
I don't have many
absolutely.
followers, but I just dropped a Bryce Young film review not that long ago. I'm dropping one on CJ Stroud probably tomorrow. So I'm doing a bunch of draft stuff, and if you want to see a bunch of angry TikTok followers or TikTok people say I'm dumb for saying that Justin Herbert's better than Tom Brady, you can check my account. So
he is though.
He is better than he is, and people can't. You know what?
Well, I'm not going to say he is for sure, but there's an argument. I'll put it that way because I did my quarterback rankings, and I can't remember if I put Brady over Herbert or not because I think they're like very close. I think they're kind of interchangeable, but like either way, there's an argument to be made. You're not stupid for saying that. We'll put it that way.
Brady's a check down merchant.
All right. Let's not start slandering the GOAT. Okay, we're not going to do that here.
Eli's son. It's on.
Okay.
I throw it in there.
I do remember that one time. I do remember.
All right. Well, I don't want to follow that up. Y'all are slandering the GOAT over here. Like,
no, I'm trying to
come up with a comeback. I am too. I'm trying to come up with a comeback. I can't remember if there's
Michigan's my team. I root for the Wolverines.
Yeah. I can't remember if there was a time where the Bears like dogged on the Giants. I don't think there is. I know there was one game where we almost came back
last year.
Maybe, but like, who cares about last year? Both teams fucking suck.
I don't think bragging about beating the Giants last 5 years.
There was one game where we almost beat you. We almost came back or not in overtime, but at like the last second in the fourth quarter. We had like a crazy.
Cutler.
I don't think that was Cutler. I think that was Mitch at that point because it was because Tariq Cohen had a crazy 2-point conversion, and then we tried to kick it onside and didn't get it, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Yes. 2018.
Yeah, it was more recent than that. It was more recent.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 2018. Yeah, you're right. I remember that one.
Yeah. I remember that game, too, because I cried after. We were so close. It was a very close game. But anyways, that's going to do it for this episode. I'll make sure to have their links in the description as well as 5Points links, but obviously he doesn't need it. But I'm still going to do it out of courtesy because that's the type of guy I am. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. Giants fans, I hope you're optimistic for the future. Maybe not this season, but the years after, there's definitely reason to be hopeful. But make sure to leave a comment down below. Let us know if you agreed with what we said. Maybe you're with me and DJ and you think Daniel Jones is not the answer, or maybe you're with G-Man and you think Daniel Jones is the answer. You want to, defend him and make us look like idiots. Either way, just make sure to leave a comment down below, leave a like, spend a lot of time doing these. It would really mean a lot if I could, if you could share your support and whatnot. And, whatever time of day it is for you, morning, night, day, afternoon, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a good day.